and welcome to the new episode of India's Idea. Today, we will be talking to Dr. Kasim Mookhthiar, who is Managing Director and CEO for Advinus Therapeutics Limited. We will be discussing with him innovations in pharma sector and role of Indian pharma sector for drug discovery. Dr. Kasim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
So, Dr. Kasim, there is currently a lot of talk about Make in India initiative, about Digital India, about innovations, and our Prime Minister is championing quite heavily. But when you came back to India, maybe in 2002, 2003, there was no such talk. There was no buzzword about Make in India and things like that. So how was the life at that time, and what actually promoted you to come to India?
Very interesting. Yeah, I actually came back because I saw an opportunity of putting India on the global map of innovation and drug discovery, actually, in the pharma world. At that time, our feeling was that the pharma industry was the rising sun industry after IT. And so I wanted to be part of this revolution that was going on. I think it's wonderful, this Make in India initiative. It's wonderful because India has the talent, it has the capability, it has all the ingredients for a successful participation in the global economy. And I think it's time we took our rightful place there and contributed and reaped the rewards of being global contributors to humans.
So, but sir, most of the time people complain, especially industrial houses complain, that on one side they are talking about Make in India initiative, but on the other side there are a lot of bureaucratic hurdles which are still there. What is your view on that?
No, they are there. We are like all things in life. When things are not working very well, it takes a little bit of time to unlearn all the negative things and relearn all the good things that we have to do. I think we are going through that phase. We have been going through that phase for a while now. We look back 20, 30 years ago to where we are now. Already it's a huge change that we have undergone as a country. And I think this change is going to continue. We need to speed it up a little bit, facilitate it. I see the right things being said by the government to make these things happen. And I hope that they can manage to push it through faster so that we can get on with Make in India and putting ourselves out globally.
So do you really think that as compared to 2002, when you came back and started Advinus, now in 2016, the ease of doing business in India has really improved?
For Indian companies, the improvement has been not as much as I would have liked it to be. I think there is room for much more changes. It is a matter of acceptance by all interested parties, including those of us who want this change, to make it happen. But it's not as fast as I would like it to be, but it's in the right direction. That's an important. When you need to turn a Titanic around, you need a lot of time and a lot of room to do that. And so hopefully this will be the impetus to make the changes faster. You bring back memories.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we were called the reverse brain drain at that time because we were one of the first few people to come back, in this industry at least, to come back to India to start up something. When I was offered a position at Ranbaxy, it took me 1 year to finally decide to come because I had a very successful career going on at that time. I was on fast track, I was highly respected, I was doing well. And it seemed to me at that time, so why would I throw up all this stuff to go back? So I visited India 2-3 times before I did decide. And all those 2-3 times I spent time with the young scientists there. So there were 3 main reasons why, what triggered me coming back. The first was that India was going to sign the TRIPS agreement, and now patent recognition and innovation recognition was going to be the same as the world over. The second was that India had the talent and this talent was hungry for success. I felt that they needed a little bit of coaching, a little bit of sharing of experience on how to do drug hunting. We call that now drug hunting. I think that with a little bit of help and a little bit of shared experiences, they would do very well because they were really good scientists and they didn't know exactly how to do the things. And the third was that the pharmaceutical industry was growing large enough where they could transform from just generics into innovation-based drugs as well. In fact, the feeling at that time was Ranbaxy was the largest pharmaceutical company in India, and their founder, Mr. Parminder Singh, had enunciated the vision that he wanted to convert it into an R&D based, innovation based company. And so these three things together told me that there was an opportunity to make a difference. Come here and do a little bit of something. And that's what triggered it. I'm very happy to say that the talent proved out just right. The TRIPS agreement was signed, and we are doing drug discovery in India. That is the proof.
But as Advinus is a pharma company, and there are a lot of regulations when it comes to pharma sector, you have to deal a lot with government, especially DCGI. What's your experience of dealing with them currently? And whether it has changed over a period of time?
I see some positive changes, but I think that India is very, very new to things like new drugs and drug discovery. And both our bureaucrats as well as people who deal with this part of the business have to learn a lot before they get comfortable enforcing laws, making changes, making rules and regulations with this. I don't think this is going to happen in a flash. We need to think carefully, because we are a democracy, we need to think carefully what it is that we want and make those changes. Yes, there's a difference from what was there from 2002, 2003 to now, but I think a lot more could be done and a lot more can be done now. So I'm hoping that a lot more will be done to make that change, to make us more competitive in the global world.
But how slow, for example, whether you would like to cite any example that how sometimes the things don't move or how slow the bureaucracy works. Would you like to actually cite some example?
Sure, I'll give you one example that happened in around 2008 or so. We had discovered a brand new diabetes molecule. We applied for an IND, which we got approval to do first-in-man studies after 14 months.
And it's
The global standard is 30 days.
Yeah.
That was a significant amount of time and could have resulted in a lot of loss both for India and for Advinus and patients at large, because it's a new medicine and this 14-month delay is not an acceptable delay by any standards. So now things are changing. I hope that they're changing. It doesn't take that long anymore. We should soon put the rules in place so that we have a 30-day wait for IND approval. That's the global standard.
And if it doesn't come through, then it should be default or...
That's the way it is I know in the US, because I've worked all the time in the US, you apply for your IND, and after it is received, if you don't hear from the FDA after 30 days, you can start your studies.
That's good.
So it's a default is approval unless they get back to you to...
But with Startup India coming and this Make in India initiative, I think there will be certainly these changes which need to happen if Indian industry has to really flourish and create jobs for India. But as our program is more on innovations and focusing on innovation, I would like to actually seek your view on what about the innovation ecosystem which is currently prevailing in India. What are the pitfalls associated with it, and what changes need to happen so that there is a good impetus to innovation or actually taking forward good ideas?
Excellent question. Actually, my opinion is that India has been slower on the uptake in innovation than I would have thought it would be. when I look back and I see all my friends who are in the US who came from India and who are there now, and people here, a lot of the innovation around the world is actually done, a good contribution of it is from people of Indian origin. So it's not that we don't have the capabilities of innovative thought and carrying out innovation. However, I find innovations here are far less than they should be. Now, there are two or three things that I think needs to happen for us to increase that. The first is the ability to take risk. I think we are still playing too safe in all aspects, from employees, from employers, from financiers, from the government. There's too much conservatism and not enough ability to take risk. I understand that taking risk is not easy when your standard of living is a little bit lower than some of the countries that do innovate. But it's a losing proposition. If you don't innovate and get yourself up there, you'll always remain at a lower end. So the only way to get to the top is to climb. And we've got to take the risk to climb there. That's one thing. The second thing is risk appetite of investors is not, I think, high enough. It has seen a considerable improvement over the last 10 years, 10, 12 years. I think Indian investors have matured enough where they can now invest in R&D that will come up with new products and innovative products. But the kind of investment that's required for medicine, which has to deal with human lives and human health, something that's close to all our hearts, that requires a longer period of time of investment. And I don't think that we have reached there yet where we can invest for such a long period of time. Hopefully, as the country grows and we become better off, that risk-taking ability will increase. I'm hoping that that is the direction this will go in. So these two have to change.
So what is your experience about the risk-taking ability? Because when you came back, because you actually started Advinus along with Rashmi Bhargava, and Tata's actually invested in it. What you wish to talk about the risk-taking ability of Tata's when it looks from a drug discovery point of view?
Yeah, I think the Tatas were instrumental, and their desire to bring innovation as a larger part of their organization was obvious because they were investing in a drug discovery company. I think of all industries, drug discovery has to rank among the top in terms of increased risk, but it also has higher rewards. So it's one of those few industries where it is very high risk, very high reward kind of business. And the Tata Group knew that when they got into it and supported the idea of taking risks to make medicines on multiple levels. So they supported us. They are large enough to be able to take the kind of risk that a small company like us would demonstrate. They have been supporting us now for 10 years. This is the 11th year of their thing. Their appetite has not decreased at all. They're still supporting us as they did 10 years ago. So we're very happy for that. One of the things that they have given us is a lot of freedom to find ways to make it work in India and to come up with novel drugs and novel that will help people. So they've been very supportive of us. They've been very supportive of innovation. We are glad for it, and we are hoping that we'll turn that around and produce something both for our investors as well as for our nation.
So at Advinus currently, how many different programs are going on?
We typically run about 10 research programs at a time. This is now in the discovery unit here. We also have a unit in Bangalore that does contract research for drug development. And there we have at any given point in time maybe 80 to 100 clients that we are providing services for drug development. So it's a very robust business. It's not small, it's quite big. On the innovation part, in drug discovery here in Pune, the 10 programs that we run address diseases that are becoming very common in India, such as diabetes, asthma, those kind of rheumatoid arthritis. But we also have a very small effort in neglected diseases which are prevalent in countries like India and sub-Saharan Africa. So things like malaria, things like leishmaniasis. We are currently working on a drug to discover a drug in leishmaniasis or Kala Azar, which is restricted to places like India and Mediterranean countries, Brazil, those kind of places. Um, we are working on diabetes, we are working on cancer, we are working on Parkinson's, we are working on all kinds of inflammatory diseases. These diseases are becoming of significant effect and impact on India
And any of
as
the
we grow.
and any breakthroughs are coming?
We are very lucky. We have a full pipeline. Uh, we have 8 molecules in preclinical development. 2 of our molecules, both for diabetes, one we are developing ourselves and now trying to find partners. We've got proof of concept in human trials that were done in India. One of them is being developed by a partner in the US. It's a large pharma, and they're taking it forward into phase 2B, phase 3 trials. So we are happy about that. Now we have some more innovative products that are coming out. We are hopefully going to find partners for the global development of these molecules that will be useful both here and around the world.
So now we take a break, and after the break, once we will come back, we will talk to Dr. Kasim about Advinus Takeda collaboration and scenario of Indian pharma as a whole. So welcome back. We will continue discussing with Dr. Kasim. So Dr. Kasim, I was just keen on knowing about Advinus collaboration with Takeda because it is tom-tommed a lot in media as one of the best collaborations between two pharmas. So can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. It was a wonderful collaboration. Essentially, Takeda recognized the talent that is there in India and at Advinus in drug discovery. They liked the processes that we had put in place to carry out drug discovery in a cost and time efficient manner. And this is what attracted them to us. That with the high quality of science that is carried out at Advinus was actually something that they picked up on and were able to use as a commitment to doing this collaboration. I can tell you that a similar kind of feeling was there in all the other collaborations that Advinus has. Advinus has collaborated with Merck of the US, Novartis, with Johnson & Johnson, with Celgene,
And
now of
all
course
and
Takeda.
on drug discovery?
All on drug discovery. All of this on drug discovery. All of them were highly successful collaborations that led to a desired end, a desired either product or a scientific result that was useful to them.
But why Advinus usually collaborates with multinationals, and why there is no talk about Advinus collaborating with Indian pharma?
There's a very specific reason for that, and it's actually scientific. So far, the ideas of how to treat diseases is coming from places and organizations where they've been doing this for a while and understand the basis of disease. So there's a lot of research going on in the US, Europe, on what causes diseases and what could potentially be ways to treat these diseases. India has not been in drug discovery for very long. And even when it was there earlier, it was in a very limited way. There was no mechanistic studies that pointed the way towards new treatment paradigms. This is what is coming from the large pharma in the global sense. So we were merging the ideas and the research that was being produced by these large companies and academics in, in the Western world, with the talent and the hunger of the young scientists in India to make that happen. And this was a very, very rich mix. This is rich enough where I can tell you that in all our collaborations, Advinus has succeeded in delivering to its partner what it had promised. High quality science, some of which is published in international journals, or actual molecules that are now in development. I wish we could do the same also with Indian companies. I think that there is a potential for that. We are starting to explore some of this with Indian companies to see if we can do drug discovery and drug development together on innovative products, not on generic products. And we are actually starting to do that and reach out to our colleagues in the industry to do this. I think it'll take a little bit more risk appetite to get to that stage, because after discovery, the clinical development that is to happen in India will be an expensive affair and it will be a risky affair. So the largest part of the expenditure in finding a new medicine is actually in the clinical development program. It accounts for up to 85% of all the cost of developing a new medicine. So this is going to happen in the future. I think as we mature as an industry in discovery and as a country in terms of investment, this will start to happen, and I'll be happier if it's sooner than later.
Interesting. But now, so whether you think or whether you can envisage a program where drug discovery is done at Advinus and subsequently formulation development and marketing, clinical trials done by an Indian pharma company.
I hope that will come very, very soon.
So currently when it comes to, because as you know, pharma research, especially drug discovery part, is extremely expensive. You know, some people, experts quote, like for one molecule, actually from R&D to market, it costs around 800 million to 1 billion or 1.2 billion. When it comes to the expenditure or the budget for Advinus, what kind of budgets actually Advinus has for doing that?
We have, I can't give you a specific number, I can tell you one thing. At Advinus, we have one mantra. It is self-sustaining while value building. So what we do is that we work in collaboration with other global players, and the research funding that we get from these partners who are supporting the thing, their programs, we also use for our internal assets as well as our overall support for Advinus discovery. It's self-sustaining. So we have been able to self-sustain ourselves now for several years. We hope to continue that trend. It's a unique business model. Most of the biotech companies in the Western world are funded by venture capitalists. And it's a burn, burn, burn till a product comes out. I'll give you some rough numbers. They're not exact, so you'll have to excuse me for that. But many companies that are successful now, Vertex, Amgen, Genentech, these companies were loss-making companies for decades,
Yep.
10, 20 years, 16 years. And their investments went up to 700 million, 1.5 billion, before they could turn a profit on a product they made. This kind of investment appetite doesn't exist in India for such a large thing. So we have to take up this self-sustaining approach to be able to do the research that we need to come up with new medicines. It's there, it's growing. As it becomes more successful, it'll attract more investors. So it's up to us as drug discoverers to become successful. And hopefully we'll be. In a few short years, I hope we'll be there with new products that people will be interested in, and that will attract the investors themselves.
When it comes to drug discovery, sir, there are two aspects. One is the finance, which you actually addressed. The other one is real competent manpower. Do you think that Indian education system is actually throwing up that kind of a manpower which is capable of getting into drug discovery at this stage?
Lovely, lovely question. So, the answer is yes, but not enough. The talent that is being generated by some Indian institutes is equal to anywhere in the world. All these people, these partners I told you about earlier, who visited us, one thing in common they have told us, feedback they have provided us. In fact, one CSO of a very large company, on his way out to go to the airport, told me, Kasim, you've got a fantastic team. You better work really hard to keep it together. So the talent is there. The fire in the belly is there. It's up to us to provide them with the opportunities and the ideas for them to shine. Can we use more? Yes, we need a lot more of these. I urge all colleges and educational institutes to spend a lot of time on experimental science. Textbooks should always be supplemented with lab work. I remember when I was in IIT, most of the courses that we had always had a lab attached to it. So we didn't just do theoretical work. There was actually a practical translation of what we learned in the classroom in the laboratory. This is the one part that I find in general lacking in many academic institutions. There is very little practical work that they're learning. So we take on, I know Advinus and many other companies actually do is, they take up interns and allow them to learn how to work in a lab, how to work with instruments, how to construct an experiment, how to see results, things like that. This is something that needs to be done in academics. So the talent is there. All the brain work is there. It's up to us to provide them with the opportunity now to learn how to do it. And I urge all academic institutions to do that. So, we take interns on from the undergraduate to the graduate level. We have a PhD program within Advinus itself. All of these are geared towards teaching kids how to work in a lab, how to carry out experiments. So it's up to us to do it. I think the government can help by making sure that academic institutions do have this part of it and not just coursework.
So now from 2002 to 2016, 17, this 13 years, 14 years of your experience or your journey in India, how many times you felt frustrated? How many times you felt that you just want to leave India, go back, or how many times you think that bloody why I came?
It is frustrating. I'll be frank with you. It is frustrating because what I see is opportunity lost. India has everything to be a super duper power. It has all the ingredients. It has the people, it has the natural resources, it has the training, the education, everything is there for us. What is holding us back is ourselves. We have to find a way to change the mindset. I'm glad to see that the younger generation, the new generation of youngsters, are breaking that mold and actually being more bold, taking extra risk, going out and doing stuff rather than, I want to get a bank job, I'll sit in the job 40 years, I'll retire and that'll be it. They don't want to do that anymore. They want to go out and make a difference. And I'm very glad to see that that is happening. But that's what it is now. This is what it will take, and this is what is required for us to do. So in coming from 2002 to 2014, lots of frustrations. Many times I have thought, as you say, gosh, why am I here? What am I doing? But then I see the potential and I see the opportunity of making a difference. And we do. And I'm looking forward to the time when a large disease, global medicine comes from India. I'm waiting for that day. I know the malaria molecule that Ranbaxy made is available in India now. I'm waiting for it to go global, but I'm also waiting for one of Advinus's molecules to reach that stage, I hope very, very soon. So I think it will happen. It is on its way. It is happening. It's inevitable. We can help ourselves by making it go faster by doing the right things.
So let's end on this positive note that Advinus will become one of the best drug discovery company in the world.
I hope so.
Thanks, Dr. Kasim. Thanks
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much, Abhay.
yeah.